me legs, me bloody legs. My name is Totalbiscuit of the WoW podcast. Blue please on cynicalbrit.com. Welcome to Darkshore once again. It is a mess, it's a total wreck. Who would ever want to live here? One cannot imagine. We're going to check out the inside of that thing, because it's really a great idea to run slap bang into the middle of a tornado. But it's okay, because it's World of Warcraft, where you're encouraged to do so. Oh, hi! It's some kind of Harvey Birdman impersonator. Oh, sorry, that's Malfurion. I shouldn't be taking the piss. Indeed, and so forth. Malfurion is back, and he's got a new trick. Sawing Darkshore in half with a cyclone. Actually, he's helping out, honest, by destroying everything, really. It's an odd way of helping out. It's tough love, what can I say? So, you might ask, what exactly is going on here? Well, unnatural forces are tearing apart Darkshore. Malfurion is stopping that from happening, but he can't leave his post. He needs help from various people, including a Moonkin. As to why, nobody really knows. Let's go down and find the Moonkin, shall we? Malfurion will be our quest hub for the rest of this video. It's got a nice little conclusion, but there is an awful lot more to do here. I'm liking the way they tie the storyline together here. It is one culmination into something much more dramatic. It lacks the gimmicks of, say, the Goblin Zone, but then again, that's always been the case with the Worgen. Now, this is kind of depressing, honestly. I couldn't help but, like, be, oh, that's sad. It really is. All the other Fat Moonkin are dead. Their spirits are haunting the area. You have to do something about that by finding some feathers and then heading on back there. Now, the feathers are not, in fact, on the Ghost Moonkin, as I discovered. They are on the floor, tiny little sparkly things lying around. Takes a little bit of time to find them. Now, each of the 3 quests that you actually receive from Malfurion to talk to various dudes will generally start off with something a little bit mundane. It might have a twist to it, it might not, and it will culminate in something. The idea is we've got to get help from these guys. Malfurion can't do it alone, etc., etc., so we've got to enlist the Owlkin, a nearby tribe of Furbolgs, and a big tree. We'll need help from all of them if we are to succeed in defeating the Twilight, who are the guys who are mucking around in this area and making a mess of everything. Although, personally, I must say, I much prefer this version of Darkshore to the old one. It's a lot more exciting. Old Darkshore, pretty damn dull. This Darkshore, everything's dying! It's a massacre, and a natural catastrophe. A cataclysm, as it were. Here's your feathers. Thank God I don't have to collect 100 like certain games. Oh. Sadly, neither of those are too good. Again, we're still having scaling problems. I think I've still got the same staff that I picked up at the end of the Worgen Zone. Right, now, we've done that. So, we need to go and find a torch, not in bear form. That would be silly. In order to get the torch, we need to go and kill a named mob, and then we can set a funeral pyre for these poor Ghost Moonkin. As if you haven't already gathered, this is not a happy zone. At all. This is a really depressing zone. Honestly, I would be half tempted to say don't go to Darkshore after doing Gilneas, because Gilneas is really depressing as well. It's got some cool moments, but it's like, well, most of the Gilneans are dead, or turned into wolves, or gone mad, or infected and slaughtered by the undead plague, and there's war and famine and pestilence all over the place. It's like you finally get out of there and look forward to a little bit of sunshine and some decent weather for a change, and what happens? You go into a zone that's being torn apart by cataclysmic elemental forces. Yay. Oh, and everybody's dead. Also, yay. Not all that family-friendly. Right, I have your torch. You may hoot at me now, if you so desire. Don't burn me on the fire! Bloody ungrateful Moonkin bastard. Help me put the spirits of my dead fellows to rest, he says. Hoot hoot. What am I actually going to do? I'm going to barbecue the Worgen, because I'm a little bit hungry. Yes, quite. Right, okay, excellent. So he will help us out. That's one of the 3 that we need to go for. Now, you could go back to Malfurion right now, but there is literally no point in doing so. Little bit of a tip. Go and do all the quests before you go back to Malfurion. You're not going to be able to progress past this anyway. It is a nice little tight closed-in questing hub It's a good series, but, like I say, you might as well just do them all at once while you're out here. Now, the next area we're going to head to is the Furbolg camp, who apparently have their own problems. They're a little bit FU got mine at the moment. I would love to help, but, you know, I've got these elementals, and you know how elementals are terrible. Oh, can you help, please? I'm like, you whiny bastards. Okay, fine. Now, this is a kill quest with a twist. You've got to kill the elemental, and then you have to cleanse it with a totem. Absorb the essence of the elemental. Now, as much as I would love to do that, you can't do it on tapped corpses, annoyingly enough. It will show which ones you can do it on by the fact that the little bindings that you remember seeing from all the way back in vanilla, they're on fire when you kill them, and they will be extinguished once you have used the totem on them. Now, I've still been having a little bit of a think about this rotation with the damage that you do at this level on these particular mobs. And the conclusion I've come to, really, is that most of the time it's good to open up with a rake, then go double mangle, and then go bite whenever possible. And I figured this out sort of later in the video. It's not a huge amount of difference in damage, honestly, instead of just spamming 3 mangle, then bite, but it's a little bit more efficient considering the amount of health that these have. There we go. That's that put out. So that's 1 absorbed. And we can go back and get the other one. But yeah, like I said, this is all that really happens here. But I do like this area. It's very cool. The lava effects are really coming into their own, obviously. And it's nice to see them so early on as well. We don't have to wait until one of the higher level zones to see chaos and destruction. It seems to be universal. Now, as I singe my fur, ooh la la, on these particular elementals, I suppose an argument could be made that this is just a generic kill quest, and that the addition of the totem to it is completely pointless. Though, I must say I have to disagree with that. If you boil the nature of a quest down to its very basic elements, then each quest is going to be either destroy, discover, deliver, defend, or drop. Those are the 5 Ds, those are what make up pretty much every quest in the game. There are a couple of sort of exceptions to that, but that's pretty much all of them. Now, when you take this and you add what I like to call the magic wand element, whereby you have an item that performs a particular purpose that's specific to the quest and only to that quest, then you at least give the quest a bit of flavor, and that's what's most important. It's like I was saying when we went through those areas that were a little bit bland, say, earlier in Darkshore and in a couple of other areas as well. When it became too generic, it was like, kill this, kill that, blah, blah, the old style of questing, as opposed to the new style whereby they tried to give each kill quest an individual flavor and reason behind it. It helps with the storytelling. It could be, kill 8 elementals. Done. Nothing else, just kill 8 elementals. And you know what? If it was just kill 8 elementals, it would be relying entirely on the quest text to convey what was actually going on in the world, as opposed to this, where that's not just the quest text in action, it's the totem as well, and it's like, look, okay, we actually feel like we are cleansing the elemental threat here, as opposed to we are just killing a bunch of generic mobs for this quest. It does help, it really does. It assists with the immersion factor, and it brings you into the storytelling by letting you do, as opposed to just simply read or listen. This is a game at the end of the day. This is a piece of interactive fiction. It's not the same as a book or movie, and you can't treat it that way. Although, sadly, since it's not a book or movie, you do sometimes get people that are a little bit unreasonable. It was the last fire elemental in the area. What happens? Does he group with me? No. Now, it is possible that even in a group, maybe you can only just take one at a time. Maybe the flame will be extinguished, but yeah. It's kind of annoying. You can obviously see we're both going there. It really is an attitude that I would prefer people didn't take in the beta, because we're all here to test. At least I hope we are. If we're just here to play around and mess about and not really do anything, then I think Blizzard should probably reconsider the beta status of certain people and give it to others who are perhaps more willing to do their duty as a beta tester. I don't expect everyone to be testing 24/7, but really, when you're impeding someone else's testing, it's just a pain in the ass. Let us fast forward and find the last one quicker. There really are a surprising lack of elementals in this area. Spawn scaling will kick in the live game. A lot of people have asked me, well, do you think these areas are going to be completely overcrowded? Well, maybe. It is a possibility, but also bear in mind there are phases in here. and it's possible that you'll end up in a phase that other players are not in. Now, some people will complain about that, but I'd imagine that when you're questing and you're trying to compete with 200 other people for the same mob, you're going to be thankful that that exists. I've seen it in other games, and it does work fairly well, honestly. You get to interact with other people all the time, and supposedly they're putting in some system whereby you can switch phase to the same one as your friends, although I haven't seen that in the beta as of yet. That said, I've not had the need to use anything of the sort, so it may be there and I just haven't seen it. Engage terrifying manatee form. Oh, I would love an entire class based on that form, instead of it being some kind of ancillary form. It's so boring. They need lasers or something. Learn from the goblins. This quest is kind of weird. It seems like it's a little bit buggy. I was standing on there trying to activate it, but when this guy came along, we were both able to activate it simultaneously. One has to wonder if it's one of those quests that are on a timer. Whatever the case, we have to defend the totem from the attacks of these tiny elementals that can be killed in one hit. It's very dangerous and very threatening, obviously. That said, they don't really have to be all that hard. It's kind of a nice quest anyway. It's like, hey, it's an escort quest, but you're escorting something that doesn't move. Awesome. So it's not going to run backwards and forwards at random or go and aggro everything within a 2-mile radius. This is the future of escort quests, ladies and gentlemen. Escort the stick. I shall eat the elemental. Ah, it's a slightly larger elemental. A revenant elemental of some description. Able to beat the crap out of that. And there we go. We have successfully defended the totem. And now by using that, we've apparently soothed the elementals. But the elementals are still around, so it's not like there's any phasing really used here. But the furbolgs will be happy, and that's the main thing. Always got to try and keep the furbolgs happy. Nothing worse than a band of angry furbolgs. I can tell you that from personal experience. Oh, foul-wheeled. Ugh. Don't even remind me. King of the Hill, anybody? Oh, the original King of the Hill. Wow. Okay. Oh, yay, spirits. Just what I always wanted. I'm thinking no somehow. We can vendor that later. But since I have massive bags of holding, I don't really see any need to do that immediately. Now, last but by no means least, big tree thing. Now, in terms of this guy, I really don't know why he actually needs any help. And here's why. Yeah, I think he's doing okay on his own, honestly. I mean, look at that. He gives no damn about any of this. It's like, yeah, I've killed 50 elementals before breakfast. How many did you kill, Yeah, thought so. Now, this is actually just a generic kill quest. It's beat on some elementals. It's as simple as that. So I will speed up pretty much all of this for your delectations. I don't care if that word's not appropriate. I like it. Delectations. Of the emphasis that you can put on that. Delectations. It is delicious. Now, pro tip to anyone that's doing filming or anything like that. Answering fan mail in the middle of a fight is generally a very bad idea, as I discovered when I was a little bit distracted and then ended up dying. I'm not going to blame the fan, it's my own dumb fault. I wasn't paying attention to my health bar. Ooh, I'm the godlike druid. Or maybe not, because it turns out these mobs actually hit pretty damn hard. So yeah, I don't blame the fan at all, and I do appreciate the messages, so don't think I'm some kind of antisocial and grateful bastard. That's only 90% of the time. Yes, don't worry, furious vengeance will soon be mine. That thing looks pretty damn awesome with the ghost effect on it, I must say. I always like to just do a tour of Azeroth as a ghost sometime and see what some of the more bizarre things actually look like. Yes, revenge is a sniff best served cold. On this delicious diet of rocks. You know, last time I checked, I had some kind of heal. I should probably start using that more often. I'm not used to healing classes. Healing's weird. It's something that I don't fully understand because I've never done it. The only two characters I've played with any great vigor were my mage, most of the time. And for about 2 months I played a rogue up to level 60, so that we could do a old-school raiding guild with it. But still, it is kind of odd. And now, funnily enough, rogues have a healing mechanic. Go figure. That'll be some of the best soloers in the game. It's probably why they're closing areas like Zul'Gurub. And yes, they are, by the way. I do intend to go in there. It's going to be some kind of questing hub now. A lot of people have complained about that, and I said, well, why? I mean, surely we wanted some progression in the story. It doesn't make any sense that Zul'Gurub's around 6 years later. We've already beaten everything that's in it. About 5 million bloody times, in fact. I'm fairly sure Hakar has buggered off to whatever astral plane he's hanging out on now, plotting his revenge. I think we can skip the rest of the rock beating. He's better at it anyway. I don't know why he's asking me to do it to begin with. Maybe it's some kind of test. Now that's all he actually required me to do. There wasn't anything special about that. That seems unfinished compared to the rest of it. The rest of it actually made sense and had a nice little culmination. This is just kill a bunch of rocks. Not all that impressed by that, Blizz. Come on, I think we can have a nice quest that matches up to the Moonkin and the Furbolg, surely. I'm surprised he doesn't take off with those wings, honestly. He must have glued himself to the floor or something. Now things start to get a little bit interesting. We'll hand all of these in. They don't get you anything whatsoever. Now what? Well, they've turned up to say hi, so that's pretty good. They've managed to get away from their pressing engagements. Now, this sounds an awful lot cooler than it is. I'm sorry. The lore buffs are going to go crazy here. It's like, yes, you get to go into the Emerald Dream, or do you? Yeah, it's... I must admit, I had a little bit of excitement going into this as well, but unfortunately, it's not quite as cool as it sounds. I imagine the Emerald Dream will still become something of a future expansion area, but you're not going to be seeing too much of it today. However, it is a damn sight better than the old Darkshore, so let's go check it out anyway. Now, this is a little unclear where you're supposed to go, but it is actually a cave guarded by the Twilight. You can see the usual Twilight's hammer motifs all over the place. They are the main enemies of this, by the way, if you hadn't already guessed. They really are the main enemies of this particular expansion. They are all over the place, from low-level zones all the way through to the highest level zone in the entire game, which is named after them, the Twilight Highlands. And I also might add that fighting 3 of them at once could be a little bit of a pain in the ass. In fact, that's true of a lot of the mobs in the low-level zones. They will kill you, which is good. They were a little easy when they didn't scale with our level properly, but now we're sort of around their level range and they're actually yellow to us, as opposed to being green. Yeah, they're not bad, honestly, and they will hit you fairly hard. You do have to be awake for them, and that's something that goes all the way through to the actual Cataclysm leveling content, level 80 to 85, where you'll say, if you've watched some of the other videos like OMFG Kata or Yogscast, you will notice that in the higher level areas, mobs are hitting really hard. My experience against level-appropriate mobs in, say, Deep Home at level 83 resulted in me losing 3/4 of my health per mob, and they do have quite a lot of hit points. They are no pushover, and it's probably about time that happened. Now, as much as it might make sense to follow the glowing purple stuff, which is what I tend to do whenever possible, if I paid any attention, of course, I would have seen the large purple portal on top of the little crevice there. Yes, that one, thank you. Into the Emerald Dream. This is gonna be green. Why am I surprised? Yes, it's the same cave, but green, in such a way that you can barely see anything, and it gives you a little bit of a headache. Well, no wonder Malfurion wanted the hell out of the Emerald Dream if this is how ridiculous it was. God, I can't imagine spending thousands of years looking through a green haze all the time. Okay. Now, in order to rescue this dragon, and we do need the dragon, apparently, to help Malfurion, he really does have a great big bunch of helpers, doesn't he? Can't do anything himself. He's one of those micromanagement types. Right. We've got to go find the Emerald Scroll, which is on a slightly larger version of these nasty mobs. Always good to see the Nightmare Spawn back from Karazhan. One of the more creative mob types in Burning Crusade, in my honest opinion. They're quite nasty, actually. They can give you a little bit of a nip. Quit it. Ow! They crit hard as well. Ooh, I just kept myself alive there. I'm getting good at this healing thing. I'm really not. I'm really bad at it. There we go. Now, really, this green actually does give you a headache after a while. You can barely see anything. It really impedes your vision. There we go. And there's the slightly larger guy. Not that I really paid any attention to what it was. I ended up running past it. It's like, that's the one with the scroll on it. Dumbass. Well, I suppose I can blame the green haze and the fact that I feel uncomfortable playing Alliance Druids. Yeah, that and various other excuses I'm sure I can come up with. Right, now what are you going to do with this? Apparently you're going to use this to save the planet. Supposedly. I'll go to speak to him. Well, now you can flap your way out of there, although how you do so, I really do not know. There's no way you're gonna squeeze through there. Come on, really? I'm not convinced. Oh well. Nice little bit of transport nonetheless. Out of the Emerald Dream we go. Wasn't that the worst Emerald Dream ever? It's kind of sad when the Emerald Dream in WoW looks worse than the Emerald Dream in Warcraft 3 did. Might need a little bit of work there. Okay. We are in the Eye of the Vortex once again. Malfurion's not all that happy, but he's cool. He's got his helper monkeys, so what are we going to do with him? Well, this is a nice little conclusion to this particular line of quests. Well, what do you think? We get on the dragon and go and blow up a bunch of Twilight. Now, as it turns out, the Twilight portal at the top of this area is what's causing a large amount of the nonsense. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly right up to the top of the Eye of the Storm, and using the dragon, we're going to destroy the portal, and just for good measure and a little bit of violence, shoot down some Twilight Riders. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. One would call this a bombing run quest, but I don't think that really counts. It's more of a dogfighting quest, whereby you don't really get to aim at anything. A little bit of Panzer Dragoon going on, I think. A little bit of rail shooting. It only takes one shot to take these guys down, but due to the travel time of these, if you're fighting up there with others, you'll often get your mob killed or tagged beforehand. So I would actually recommend that you do attempt to group with somebody here. It will speed things up quite significantly, especially since you've got to kill 12 of those things. Thankfully, the Twilight Portal keeps respawning, which to me indicates that this whole dragon thing is a completely pointless exercise, but hey, there you go. If the quest demands it, then we shall do it in order to proceed. Regardless of the fact that it lacks any semblance of challenge, it is a nice end to a fairly good set of quests. If I look back on this set of quests, I'm going to remember the Sad Moonkin that tried to barbecue me. I'm going to remember the Furbolgs and the Cleansing Totem and the Elementals who also tried to barbecue me, and the Evil Rocks in the Badass Tree. And then I'm going to remember the Emerald Dream giving me a headache, and then I'll remember killing a bunch of things in the air on top of a freaking green dragon, killing a Twilight Portal, and being a general badass. What's wrong with that? That sounds like a pretty good set of quests to me. In vanilla, say the vanilla equivalent of it, it would be kill 10 bears, kill 10 elementals, kill 10 other elementals, go to this area, get key, free dragon, run back, because of course you wouldn't get to ride the dragon or anything like that. There wouldn't have been any Emerald Dream Portal phase of any description. Then run back and probably kill big named mob. That's what it would have been in vanilla, and now it's just so much more than that, and thank God for that. Makes the questing experience just a little bit more entertaining for everyone concerned. You can only applaud Blizzard for that. They started that really in Wrath. It's one of the best parts of Wrath, one of the only really good parts of Wrath, that they made the questing much more engaging, but Cataclysm is just a step beyond that, and instead of it just being on one continent, it's the whole frickin' planet. You wonder why this has taken so long, and some people made some retarded comments like, oh, well, Cataclysm's, it's less than expansion, but more than a patch. No, it's the biggest goddamn expansion you've ever seen in terms of WoW, and you'd be an idiot not to realize that. I bash Blizzard all the time, and often with very good reason. As a player, I see the good and the bad, and as a tester, I see the good and the bad, but you can't see all that much wrong with what I've just shown you right there. That is a good set of quests, no doubt. My name is Totalbiscuit, and I'll see you next time.